So the business that I have proposed today is Outreach Athletic Training. And so here we are today kind of to talk about where we want to go with it and how we can approach it into the business feasibility. So a little bit about myself. I am Cody Derby. I am a licensed athletic trainer and certified athletic trainer in Florida. I am the CEO and head athletic trainer of Outreach Athletic Training, and I am here today to propose a business plan for how we can approach it. So our vision for Outreach for athletic training services is really just to provide the quality healthcare services to sporting events throughout the community and serve as that first responder for medical emergencies. We want to provide to local events with healthcare coverage to be able to provide services and medical attention referrals to physicians as needed. So all the content in this business proposal is really just licensed to Outreach Athletic Training, and the materials are for us to use to kind of promote our business and go from there. A little bit about our goals and our missions is, the primary goal of Outreach is to create an effective and efficient way for athletic trainers and local sporting events to collaborate and contract a way to provide the essential medical coverage that's needed. Athletic trainers are contracted to local events and will be able to provide on-site care to acute injuries, evaluations and referrals of injuries, and most importantly be the first responder for a crisis or emergency that happens. This proposal is meant to serve as a direction for how we can really serve the community. Having an athletic trainer on site at events will provide a sense of comfort and athletes knowing that medical care is on site. This business will operate all year round and cover multiple events, including individual care through local clinics and physicians. The demand in the market for athletic training is rising, and many of the sporting events need medical coverage. So the risk and liability is there, and Outreach Athletic Training is really there to take that back. So kind of our mission is really to provide ourselves an opportunity to contract through local hospitals and clinics and be able to serve as an athletic trainer at events that aren't covered. So our mission is to start out with a contracted physician, and as our business progresses, we will be able to move forward and move up into becoming our own licensed medical profession. So as a certified athletic trainer, I know the demand for athletes, and I know the needs in medical care coverage for rehabilitation and treatment. Providing that quality care to athletes gives that reason of voice and why we're there, and it gives them the reason of comfort. So I've seen a wide variety of injuries and necessities, and I've also seen a lot of injuries and in that regard be taken way too extreme. So someone comes up to you after a marathon and is feeling kind of discomfort, you're able to evaluate them, assess them, and give them the advice to move forward. So if they do need further medical treatment, then you are that person to be able to refer to your physician who you're contracted with so that they can see the patient, get the money from the patient, in regards still making it a business profit. So in order to eliminate the emergency room visits and the acute care visits that cost almost $100 per visit, plus if you don't have insurance, then it's even pricier. So our job is kind of the liaison between that. So if they do need to go to the acute care and get stitches or whatnot, we will be able to tell them that. But if they don't, then we can provide the services, send them on their way for a limited cost. So the business opportunity in the market's there. So the opportunity to provide medical services is always going to be there for sporting events. So many people are creating a ton of different ways to promote healthy lifestyles, and with that come injuries, and with that come more events, more and more events every single year. So the events are getting bigger, and this application is going to provide these services to that market, and hopefully in the most efficient way possible, so that other events are seeing that this care is being taken, liability and risks are going down at these events, and more medical coverage is being offered at these places. So kind of just like to describe what we're going to do as a business is we're going to be there to evaluate injuries and to serve as athletic training services for this. So we are going to stretch, we are going to foam roll, we are going to tape, we are going to give you the advice that you need to help yourself become a better athlete. And so a lot of it is just consultation. If someone can come up to us and approach us, hey, how do I go about doing this, or how do I change this style of training, or how do I help with this injury more, or how do I become better at this. So we're able to just honestly give advice. But in the case of an actual emergency or an injury or an event, we are also there to help take care of that. So each athletic trainer at every event is going to have a tent, a sports massage table, warm-up equipment, emergency medical equipment like an AED, CPR mask, that kind of thing, and other just first aid and musculoskeletal stuff that we can use to help injuries. So the technology is going to be needed to create the business, but in the small sense, like I said, we're being contracted out through a hospital or physician. Really, the computer system that the hospital uses is going to what we're going to be doing with our company as well. So a website is going to be created to really just reach out to get those people in the events knowledgeable of our services and really be able to contact us through that immediately. So as the business grows, we're going to be able to develop softwares and treatments for contact, for outreaches, and in addition to hopefully one day providing a mobile x-ray unit so that we're able to actually get a better diagnosis on site and really try to eliminate our visits to physicians, doctors, ERs, and that kind of thing. So the operations of this business will really just consist of 2 to 4 athletic trainers that are part-time, that have already been contracted through a physician or already work in a clinic, and really we're just able to take this into our own separate business as an extra profit for these athletic trainers and for these physicians getting those referrals. So like I said, 2 to 4 athletic trainers and 1 to 2 physicians that are going to be contracted with us, or physical therapists. The cost to provide employment is probably going to be around $30 to $50 an hour for these events to have us on site. So if you think about sporting events, some last all day, some go a few hours. Do you need us out there all the time? Probably not. This is something that we're going to negotiate in our contracts with these events. So we're going to provide all the services, and we're going to be able to provide our own supplements as well for this opportunity. The necessary documentation of orthopedic injuries is always a necessity, and especially with laws and regulations regarding HIPAA. So the Health Insurance Portability and Accounting Act, that's probably our biggest portion in our laws and regulations for this business plan, is really just acting the grant. So the HIPAA grant is it grants patient health information privacy. So any services done will be kept private and will be kept confidential unless something needs to be said with an emergency room, a physician, or whatnot. So each athlete will sign a document before receiving service, and hopefully one day, if we're able to contract out early to these events, we're going to get that form out there while they're registering for that event. That way, if they do happen to come up and it's an emergency, we don't have to have them sign up first. We can treat them as it is. And then people who don't sign up will have a list of those people registered for that event and be able to go from there. So the federal and state laws are also in effect with this, and we have to abide by local emergency action plans and make sure that emergency action plans are set in place at these events. So if an emergency action plan is not set in place, that's something that we are going to initiate and make sure that this event has, and also charge them for it, because this is something that we do for our business, which will only help them in the long run with liability and risk. So our market position, we're kind of in that competition with, like I said, emergency rooms and urgent cares, but we're kind of the liaison. So we're going to tell you, yes, you should go, or no, you should not, because we are licensed health professionals as well, and we can make those judgments. The market is going to be weekend warriors, the local events, sporting events, ranges from children to middle age to older generations. Our target market is very, very, very wide, which is only going to help us and help everyone else out. So like I said, $30 to $45 is what we're going to aim for citing events per hour. And then services at the events are going to be free unless it requires an evaluation or treatment, which will then become $25. So the pricing seems like it's a little flip-flopped, but in the terms of things, we're making profit off of the event, but also of individuals. So if individuals are needing that treatment, they either pay on site, or we can take insurance information if they have it covered, kind of like an emergency or an urgent care visit. There's going to be co-pays and stuff and whatnot, but that $25 basically serves as that co-pay for that visit, so that if insurance doesn't cover it, it's still in a scope of, I only got charged $25, where if I went to urgent care, it would be $40 or $50 or $100 or whatever your insurance might be if you have it. So, and for those that don't have insurance as well, or don't want to, give that information to kind of go about whatever that is, $25 is very, very cheap for an evaluation. And then what they do with that evaluation and diagnosis and referral is based off of them. So if we refer them to a physician and they don't see them, that's on them. But we did our part to help them get to where they do for a very low price. So our sales plan and kind of like our advertising and promotion of this business. So we really want to communicate with a ton of local events because we want to have as much business as possible. And if we have to, we can contract out other athletic trainers as well. The website address, along with other personal visits from athletic trainers in the community, is just going to be through communication. Getting our name out there, going to these events, going to their websites, reaching out to the people, directors of these events, and kind of promoting our business and giving them what we have, and kind of telling them what we can do to help them. Because in all, it's only going to help these companies rather than take away, granted the money that they're paying us, but in the long run, it's going to help reduce their liability and risk for these events. So, like I had mentioned, athletic trainers will be contracted through local hospitals and clinics, but be under the supervision of a physician because that's our scope of practice. We can scope and do everything that a physician allows us to do. So, if we're able to contract with physicians in the community to where we can get the most amount of it as possible, and also getting those referrals to them is going to be kind of a win-win situation. So all the human resource policies and procedures are contracted through under the events and under the clinic that we are under as well. So for myself, the CEO, it is my job to really establish a good communication skills with our physicians and be able to get athletic trainers to be on board with us. So digging into the financials and kind of the money aspect, our startup cost with equipment and salaries with 3 part-time athletic trainers is going to be around $35,000. So year 2 and year 3 salaries is going to be $10,000 per ATC because it is part-time. So kind of just that extra cash that they're getting and basically serving their community, and $2,000 for equipment upgrades, depending on the year. So like I said, if we're able to get more technology on site, whether that's a van, whether that's a mobile X-ray unit, as we progress and as we develop more business in the community and further on, we're able to kind of upgrade our technology and equipment. Advertising, we're going to spend about $2,000 a year on it, and I think that's important because of our website and through ads and that kind of thing. But that's going to be our biggest deal, and it's not going to cost a lot, but it's definitely essential. So year 1 events. So these prices are going to be kind of approximate because we don't know how many events we're going to have, and we don't know how many athletes are going to need evaluations. But through looking at research and going through urgent cares and emergency rooms, and talking to local physicians and local events, kind of the average. So we came up with this approximation. So approximately during our first year, we'll serve about 115 events, and we'll get about 15 evaluations per event. Considering about 200 to 300 people participate in events, we'll see about 15, maybe more, maybe less. So that'll reach us about $43,000 in that first year, and plus the hourly rate that we're contracting out with these events is going to be $45 an hour for approximately 4 to 6 hours per event, and that's going to equal to about $31,000 a year. So with the physician and hospital, they're going to sponsor us to allow us to create this business, which is going to be contracted out at $10,000. The year 2 and 3 goals, with all of this combined, we want to bump up our events to 145 events, which will put us at $54,000 a year. So our net income minus our expenses in year 1 is going to be $47,000. Year 2 and up, we want it to get to 61. So profiting in $47,000 after our expenses and paying our employees and contracting out through the local laws and regulations, all that stuff is going to be $47,000. Doesn't seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things, but for part-time athletic trainers and what we're trying to do for our community, it's a great start. So, like I had mentioned, the HIPAA form is going to be our legal form, is what we're going to go about, and that's going to be incorporated into our startup costs in terms of what we need to do to incorporate the laws and regulations and make sure that we're covering ourselves and the events are covering themselves as well. Our first year, like I said, the timeline is going to be around $47,000, and as we progress, we're going to develop into that year, the profit will rise. We can negotiate with clinics and we can negotiate with physicians to kind of get that better startup bid, or we can contract with events to get a higher price per hour, or more evaluations, or more or less athletic trainers. This business is going to be very fluctual, which is also going to be very good for what we want to do for this. So our projections of growth is going to be kind of based on how we do every single year, and I think that if we get ourselves out there and we provide the best kind of care we can, I think we're going to have a lot more success in what we do and our growth as a business. So our exit strategy is really just assuming the success and the profit of the business will continue to develop and create more of the services to protection of these athletes. And in addition to the business, we're going to be going independent from those clinics eventually, and we're going to be able to contract for ourselves and create our own LLC company. And that being said, I think our vision and our goals and what we're trying to do for our community is going to be the biggest aspect for this business. And I think that everything else is going to come through the wires as long as we have the communication and we have the staff and we have the resources to provide this kind of care. Everything else is going to be taken in place because we know what's going to come of it, and we have projected our growth, and we know that it can get bigger and even better, and hopefully one day it's going to become something that we can do on our own, separate ourselves from the clinic and that kind of thing. But for now, we feel comfortable in this, and we feel comfortable going with local clinics and physicians, and we've talked about it, and we have contracts being taking place right now. So it's important for us to really just establish this and be able to promote this out there and get our name out there. So if you have any further questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to discuss all of this plan with you, but this is how we feel strongly about this, and we think it's going to be great for this community. So thank you.